Good morning, class 7, and a very warm welcome back to your last class of October. Okay, now next time we meet, it will be November. So a lot of birthdays coming up, as I heard, and some trips planned, which is also a good thing. But of course, maintaining all safety protocols. And hopefully in November, if 9 to 12 schools reopen, then let's see how soon it will be for at least 7 or 8, or at least if in class 8, if you get to come to school and enjoy what happens. We are hoping for the best, and we are hoping that things will improve and we can meet you all soon. But 9 to 12, I hope you know that in November it's reopening. So we are our school is also taking all precautions and all steps to reopen 9 to 12. Then we'll see for 7, 8 what happens. Okay, now we are going to continue with our, historical exploration and go to the past when there was no COVID, but there was the Mughals in India. And the Mughals were ruling, and the Mughal Empire being one of the longest running empires in India, one of the longest running empires in India, which span across a very long time. During this time, India saw some high peak points when the country was very prosperous. Trade was flourishing. There was, every kind of, every kind of things available in the market. The people were, occupied in different occupations. India was doing a very good thing. There was good time, religious harmony, everything was there. Then there were times of great lows when there were major wars, there were power struggles. The Mughal history is filled with a bloody show is also there, where there have been many wars and violent wars that we see had taken place during the Mughal rule. Okay, now let me share something. Actually, we made it for the students of the previous year, because they had some we wanted them to know these parts in their book. There was a thing for which we made this for the students of previous year. These points are more or less there in your book also. Whatever is extra, that part I will tell you to write down or take a note. Okay, so I'll keep on telling you that you can note it down, so that will be easier for you all to remember, or you can know this.
Do you know the thing how to remember all the Babar, Humayun, Akbar?
There is something. There's in
Babar holo abar jor.
Babar holo abar jor.
Sharlo Oushadhe. Yes. Babar holo abar jor, Sharlo Oushadhe. That is the line that makes it easy to remember. This
it's called mnemonics.
Mnemonics. Yes, very good, Shombid. It's called mnemonics. Now, we see, even in this sentence, when you are talking about the Mughals, you are only talking about 6 of them. So the entire Mughal rule, actually all the rulers that it saw, it is divided into 2 parts. So the first part, the first 6 rulers, who are the most significant ones, who are the most important ones, or the important ones in the sense that they left the most important mark in our history. These first 6 rulers are known as the Great Mughals. We call them the Great Mughals, on which this line, this Babar holo abar jor, Sharlo Oushadhe, Aurangzeb, Babar being the first one, and Aurangzeb being the last one in the sense of the Great Mughals. But the Mughal Empire did not end with Aurangzeb. Remember, the Mughal Empire continued for a long time after Aurangzeb also. But during that time, what happened was, the rulers were not so efficient. The empire, under Aurangzeb, the empire was at its largest. Then it started becoming smaller, smaller. And the last Mughal ruler was Bahadur Shah, during whose
And the
reign-
last part which the Mughal conquered while Bahadur Shah was only Delhi.
not
and
conquered. Delhi was only the part that was left to them. It was
Yes,
only
yes.
the fort, their fort and the surrounding areas that was left to them. Other than that, the entire empire was gone out of the hands of the Mughals. And Bahadur Shah was,
It was
killed
to the Marathas and the British.
not only Marathas, to the British, there were Nizams in the south, Nizams of Hyderabad, they were there, the Marathas were there. So the Rajputs, the country was broken. Okay, and there was only one unifying power then which rose to prominence, that was the British. They were going on taking territory after territory through different ways. We will come to that. Yes, Aratrika.
Ma'am, the rulers after Aurangzeb were called
The
Rangila
rulers
Badshah.
after Aurangzeb, they are called later Mughals. Later.
No, ma'am, they are called Rangila Badshah also because they always had fun and they didn't care about their.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is
After
very
Aurangzeb, the
interesting.
Nawabi rule in India started.
The Nawabs grew power. Oh, okay. Interesting. And you see, as you said, it is very true. They were not really capable of managing such a huge kingdom. We'll do the reasons for the decline when we'll get into this later on. But these later Mughals, under them, the Mughal empire became smaller and smaller in size, and no more significant, contributions by any ruler as such. And what we see is that the, Indian territory becomes slowly a colony of the British. So that is what it ends up as. Now, as I was saying, India saw the Mughal Empire ruling it from 1526 to 1857. Imagine, so a long
More than
span of
300
time.
years.
More than 300 years. So from 1526, starting from the first battle of Panipat, an empire that started, and it ended in 1857 with the first battle of independence that India fought. The first freedom struggle or Sepoy mutiny, or our first battle of independence, when Bahadur Shah was killed in that and the Mughal rule came to an end. So it stretched for such a long time. And throughout this time, Delhi remained mainly under the control of the Mughal, except for one phase, a phase which was broken, which I will tell you, which comes after Humayun. Now we start with the first ruler of the Mughal Empire, that is Babur.
Ma'am, the Mughal Empire lasted for 331 years.
See, such a long span. Okay, at least in Delhi area, it was the Mughals which ruled. Okay. Now, actually, we will not say 331 for only one reason. That is, there was a small break in between when Sher Shah.
Yes, ma'am, by Sher Shah Suri.
When Sher Shah Suri was ruling, so there was a small break in between of 15 years. Other than that, yes, 300 more than that. It was the Mughals who had kept Delhi under their control. So coming to Babur, Babur was of course, Babur was a capable ruler. He was the first ruler of the Mughal dynasty who established the Mughal rule in India. Yes, who said, ma'am?
Ma'am, actually,
Ma'am, Babur was actually from Farghana.
Yes.
Town is China.
His story.
Ma'am,
True.
I was telling that if we minus the part which Humayun actually escaped the Sur Sultanate in the 15 years of the Sur Sultanate, then it will be 316 years.
Yes, true. That is what
But
I said.
not
It's always
continue.
more than 300 years. So it's just a small break in the middle that was there. Anyway, so starting with Babur, see, Babur actually actually belong to, as Arunil said, the land of Farghana, which is in Central Asia. That is beyond Himalayas.
Farghana is actually Uzbekistan.
Can I continue? Thank you. So Farghana, if you look into the map, yes, beyond Himalayas in China side, in the Central Asia part, Tibet, Central Asia, in that area, during that time, you all read while doing the Sultanate about Genghis Khan and all. So Genghis Khan was a tribal chief who rose to great power and occupied that entire area. But after that, there was no one such power who had occupied the entire region. Rather, that area was broken into several smaller territories, each ruled by tribes. Okay, and each tribe was fighting with the other for power, just like it was in India. There was a power struggle going on in that land also, the entire Central Asia part, which was divided into different territories, each ruled by a tribe. Babur's father, Umar Sheikh, his name was Umar Sheikh. He was a person who was ruling the region of Farghana. He was a tribal chief. He was born to a tribal chief, and Babur's father, he was, a good chief, but he died very early, and Babur was very, very young at that point of time. He was just a teenage boy when he lost his father, and he was made the king. He was made I'll not use the word king, I'll use the word chief. He was made the chief of Farghana. Yes, somebody else said ma'am in between.
Ma'am, I was Rudraksh.
Rudraksh, tell.
Ma'am, I was telling that, did you seen the movie The Empire? There was the Babur's lifetime.
Babur's lifetime? No, I haven't seen it. I have Hotstar. Let's see if I get time sometime. I'll definitely like to watch it. I will definitely like enjoy watching it, I'm sure. I know about The Empire that is released in Hotstar, and some of the facts shown there is true. You are there, which is a good way of knowing this. So when Babur became the chief, Babur was a very young boy. And though he was a capable person, but he did not have a good experience. He was not that powerful that, he will be able to manage the kingdom. So what happened was, his uncles, the other chiefs, they were a big threat. They all wanted control over Farghana, just like we see nowadays. Just like we see in India also, that there was power struggle. So there was power struggle in those lands, and Babur's uncles and other relatives, they were also waiting to get the throne for themselves. Okay, they wanted to become the chief themselves. So they conspired against Babur, and it was a bad conspiracy. And they conspired against Babur as the chief and made sure that Babur is banished from Farghana. He defeated. Babur could not, retain his chief position. He had to run away from he had to leave his land and run away from there. And he came towards Afghanistan. From Central Asia, he moved to Afghanistan, present modern day Afghanistan side, and he came towards Samarkand. So his uncles made this, and his family, and there was internal, not only were there threats from other tribes, but there was threat internally within his kingdom only, where his uncles and other relatives were plotting and planning against him. Now he came to Afghanistan. From Afghanistan, he occupied areas like Samarkand and Kabul. You know Kabul in Afghanistan?
Yes, Kandahar, Kabul.
Yes, ma'am.
Kabul, Kandahar. He conquered Kandahar also.
He conquered Kabul, Kandahar, those regions. Till this point of time, now Babur is growing up. Slowly, he is becoming a grown-up man. He is gaining experience. His focus was on getting back Farghana only. His land, it was his father's territory, his own land. And Babur too was quite an ambitious man. You cannot say Babur was not ambitious. Babur was quite an ambitious man, you know, and his target was, his focus and target was on Farghana only. He wanted to get back Farghana, and he wanted to defeat the other chiefs and rule over Central Asia. Okay, that was at that point of time his target. But what happened? What happened was what was written in his destiny. He was not really meant to rule over Central Asia, but to come to India. He tried, he made many attempts to win back those lands, but his attempts were not successful. When he was trying to get back Farghana, there was trouble in Afghanistan. So his control over Afghanistan was losing. So when he came back to Afghanistan, again, Farghana was taken away. So he was unable to manage this. It was during such a point of time that Babur got an invitation to come to India from which two people?
Rana
Sangha and
Absolutely. Rana Sangha and Daulat Khan Lodi. So but during this time, you know, Babur got the invitation to come to India and defeat Ibrahim Lodi, help them in defeating Ibrahim Lodi. They said, we will help you with men and all. But Babur, you know, but before this, but I would like to say that Babur thought this was a good opportunity. Why? Because India was a land of plenty. Even after being plundered by many people in the past, even after, you know, losing a lot of wealth, still the land of India, the rich soil of India was fertile. It helped in growing plenty of crops. And if you actually consider, if you see, when you go to class 8, you will do this. When you do the climate of Asia and all, you will see the western side, that is Afghanistan or Central Asia, then moving more towards the west.
Semi-arid deserts.
Yes, very good. Very, very good. These are semi-arid regions. Very little rainfall, mostly sandy soil, not fit for cultivation, whereas India was a land which was fertile. It is called, you know, India was called a
The
golden
southeast part of
it
it.
was gold. What?
The southeast part of Asia is the most greenest part of Asia.
The south and the southeast part of Asia has the max of this, is quite a fertile region. Very true, very true. This land, we used to call this land, you know, from this land, whatever crops you sow, it reaps good. You can always have a good harvest. And then there is rainfall. There are so many rivers. So this was a land which was rich. Babur knew about it. So when Babur got the invitation and support, he had the good judgment that time has come that instead of focusing on Central Asia, let me turn my focus towards India. And he did the same. Now, Daulat Khan and Rana Sangha both had their own personal motives of inviting. What was it for Rana Sangha? He had a clear vision. He wanted Rajput rule in Delhi. He said that the Delhi and all these areas belongs to us, the Rajputs, which was they always thought that it was taken away from them by the Sultan. So they always wanted it back. So he wanted, and he knew the Rajputs rulers were so busy fighting with each other. Defeating Ibrahim Lodi was not going to be an easy task. The last dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate, the Lodi dynasty, was at its peak under Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar Lodi had made the region once again to some extent prosperous and good. But Sikandar Lodi's son, Ibrahim Lodi, was a very short-tempered, hot-headed ruler. He was impatient. He was, he was not, he didn't know, one thing, if you ever become a leader or a ruler, along with being, forced, I will suggest this, if you ever see the history, those rulers who have been forceful have not really been the ones who have been very successful, but rather, if you can use your brains and be diplomatic, you know, you can manage, if you can have strike that balance, people will always look up to you. People will want to listen to you, follow you, help you. Ibrahim Lodi, being a short-tempered person, he used to, you know, take away lands from nobles, go against the nobles whenever he wanted. He did not tolerate certain things from his, you know, when his nobles said something, he was intolerant most of the time, for which if you see this sentence is written, that he was extremely unpopular. As a ruler, he applied his kingly authorities to do things every time. Instead of being diplomatic, instead of using his brains, you know, that made him unpopular. And Daulat Khan was one ruler who was not happy with him. Rana Sanga and the Rajputs were not happy with him. But Ibrahim Lodi had a big army, not easy to defeat. Rana Sanga, Daulat Khan both knew that if they alone attacked Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi's army will crush them completely. You know, if
Ma'am, although Ibrahim Lodi had a large army, it was not at all organized.
it was not organized when Babur
It was still
attacked.
powerful in
Yes.
quantity.
Ma'am, could you please share this
Yes,
Ma'am,
document with us
actually his
like
mind
cannon
was
by
not.
Drive or Google?
More organized. So they-
Babar was really
Babar used
intelligent than
cannons.
Ibrahim
Babar
Lodi.
used a new kind of
Babar was intelligent.
new kind of weapon. So the elephant got confused.
These things were not there with them. About the document, see, it is more or less from your book only, but if you prefer
There is a document called Babarnama.
Generation changing.
no, this is from Babar's. Babar had written the Babarnama. We'll read about that. Generation. See, when Babar came, if I talk about Rana Sanga and Daulat Khan was the governor of Punjab. Okay, Daulat Khan was related to Babar and related to Ibrahim Lodi. And Daulat Khan had been badly insulted. Being a noble, being a relative, he was insulted, and by this hot-headed Ibrahim Lodi, the ruler, and he wanted revenge. He was revengeful. And of course, at the back of his mind, he knew this, that if Babar can defeat Ibrahim Lodi, and then Babar goes back, he'll become the Sultan. He definitely had this wish. While Rana Sanga was very clear that if that Babar will come, help him in defeating, because the Rajput army, only his Rajput army was much smaller and incapable compared to Ibrahim Lodi's army. Plus the war weapons, the equipments and war weapons that Ibrahim Lodi had, plus the treasury of Delhi was much bigger than that is available in they had with them. So Ibrahim Lodi could easily defeat single armies. Hence they sought the help of Babar. Now Babar saw this as a very good opportunity. He saw this is my chance, and he knew about the rich land of India. Also, just like Muhammad Ghori or Mahmud of Ghazni, he too knew that the Indian rulers were not united. He knew defeating Central Asia right away will be a big task. But if he turns his attention towards India, now that there are people who are wanting him
India was a little bit open in that time, means it could be invaded anytime.
The point was the Indian territories were not united. He knew if he can use good techniques, there was a chance that he can defeat Ibrahim Lodi. And he knew if he defeats Ibrahim Lodi, then the rich land of India will go under his control. Once that comes under his control, he will have monetary power also. And, his economic condition, his empire will grow big. Plus his economic condition, his monetary strength will increase. He can build a better and a more stronger army with which he can then again try to get back Farghana if possible. So he thought it's a good decision to accept this offer and he attacked Ibrahim Lodi, and the two armies met in the battle of
Ma'am, Panipat. Ma'am,
Panipat.
actually,
Yes.
Babur actually got the cannons and the rifles from the Ottoman
Yes.
Empire.
From the Ottoman. He took help from the Ottoman Empire for getting the cannons. So Babur established the very Mughal Empire. Now this part, children, please take it down as a class note. How did the Mughal
Ma'am.
Empire get its name? Yeah, 1 minute. Why is it called the Mughal Empire? You know, why the name
Ma'am, it
Mughal?
is called, ma'am, it is called Mughal Empire because the descent, because the
Yeah,
rulers of, because ma'am, the Mughal Empire came from Mongolia. That means
Right,
actually
right.
they were from
See,
Mongol rulers.
Write this down. Write this down in your copy. Right on Amitro, correct. Babur's,
done.
from his father's side, Babur's ancestor was Timur. Timur name you have read. So Babur's father was
Ruler
a
of Samarkand.
descendant related to Timur name. And his mother, Babur's mother, was a descendant, you know, Babur's mother was related to Genghis Khan's family. Genghis Khan was the ruler of Mongolia. I told you Central Asia was divided into smaller lands and each was ruled by a tribe. So Genghis Khan was the most powerful and a great tribal chief that Central Asia had seen. He had a huge empire and he won over a huge land of Central Asia. So from Babur's mother's side, he was related to Genghis Khan. And they were very proud of being related to the Mongolian chief Genghis Khan. So since they were related to the Mongols of Mongolia, from Mongol, like Anamitra said very correctly, the name Mughal. Because of their relation, they are connected to the Mongols as a descendant, like that way. That way, the name Mughals came. So this is an important question, which you can take it down, that from his father's side, he was related to Timur. Mother's side, Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan, whatever spelling you write, who was a Mongolian chief and a very powerful chief. And they were very proud of, you know, they were very proud. They were very, what should I say? They always wanted to boast of their relation with the Mongols. Hence, from there, the name Mughal. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, the Mughal Empire started from 1526, when in the first battle of Panipat, what happened? The two
Babur
armies,
won.
Ibrahim Lodi and Babur, it collided, and Babur won because of three very important reasons. He had
Uluma
better
strategy.
weapons. Yes. His army was more organized and it consisted of trained horse